All right, guys. So as we know, healing is a process. It's a journey, as they all say. Um, as you get to a certain level of understanding and enlightenment, yes, you do understand that you are already healed, and it's more so of your etheric or physical body attuning to your metaphysical body, or spiritual body. But you still have to acknowledge your experience as a human, I feel. Like you don't want to get so far removed that you just feel like a spirit. Like yes, you're more than like just human, not to diminish that worth, but you still have to, you're a spiritual being on a human experience, so you do need to experience it. And in that, I believe part of the experience is learning the lessons and healing. um, to a certain extent. It's not to make your whole life about healing and just being stuck in this dark night of the soul, death of ego type deal, but it's about learning how to live, because sometimes you're so stuck in all of that trauma and all of that density that you were sent here, as part of your journey to heal, that you cannot live. So part of it of removing those layers or to get lighter and lighter and so you can fly is that's the healing aspect. And so for me, being what I call myself as a spiritual teacher, a spiritual leader, as well as being just a spiritual being on my own journey, I'm doing like two versions of healing. I'm healing my own self and things from my own ancestry, roots, lineage, but also I'm using those testimonies and those processes to heal the collective, people who are tethered to me, to my soul, to my words, to my voice. And so I've been doing a lot in regards to, being an African American woman, mother, all these things that I carry in this world, the matriarch of the family, all these types of things. So I've been doing a lot of healing of the mind because, I do feel to an extent your mind is an interpretation of your inner world, all of those energies, all of those things that you're processing and bringing forth. And as they come up, your brain interprets them. And so generally, a lot of that is negativity. And so I was just thinking about like what in my family has my lineage, has my ancestry went through, because I'm just like weird, like my mind is so hardwired to be negative. And I feel like as a foundational Black American, which is like, an African American or, well, it's like a Black person, it's hard to like go against labels when you're trying to describe something. So don't get so stuck on the labels. But it's like a Black person who's been the foundation of America, their ancestry. They didn't come over here like, after the groundlings of the American history. Like they haven't been over here in the last, say, 50 years, 100. Like it's been since the beginnings of establishing America. You know what I mean? So in that process, like we've undergone things that other people cannot attest to. So that's why we're kind of cut from the same cloth, and we have that same level of trauma. And that foundational Black American trauma has hardwired us to have this kind of knee-jerk or default way of reacting, and our mindset has been stuck in a more negative, like I said, default way of responding to experiences we have, because I feel of all the, how can I say, like let down, all of the obstacles, all of the resistance that we've had to push through. So there's a lot of hopelessness there. And then when you've established a level of acknowledgement of that pain, sometimes that can be manipulated and twisted into victim mentality. And I say manipulated and twisted because victim mentality is not a helpful attribute to carry. It's actually, it works for the oppressor. It works for the massa mentality, the henchman of your spirit, of your soul. Because when you carry victim mentality, it's kind of like, yes, what we went through is an explanation, but it's not excuse. But with victim mentality, you carry the excuse and the explanation, and in carrying that excuse, it becomes your downfall. It becomes your it's the word in itself, excuse for not accomplishing or attaining your goals or your vision or God's will for you. You get stuck in the um what someone has said you will be, what someone has allowed you to be. You get stuck in the box of boundaries or the box of what defines you and what defines your lineage and what defines your capabilities and opportunities and possibilities and potential. You get stuck in that excuse. And in my journey of healing that victim mentality and releasing it and going to so what now what, it's a journey, because the what I've processed is, and what I feel like a lot of people may feel and unconsciously don't even know, is that when you release victim mentality, some part of you feels like your pain and your experiences are not being validated. There's an aspect of knowing you have trauma to tell people why you haven't reached the goals you haven't reached. We know at this point. At this point, most people know it's not just about pulling yourself by your bootstraps all the time. Yes, that is a big part of it, but at this point, we should all know Black people have been through a lot, especially foundational Black Americans in America. So that is established, that is understood. But at this point, we have to get out of this happened to me, so that's why. Okay, so what? Now what? As Iyanla Vanzant says. And I believe he's like a producer. He's somewhat like an activist too. He created a lot of the, what is it called? Hidden Colors, I believe, movies. I don't like to mess up stuff. And I believe his name is Tariq Hill on Instagram. But he had like a little, also, I believe More Threads, like More. They also posted it as well. But originally, I believe it was part of one of the Hidden Colors movies, where he kind of breaks down and explains the foundational Black American and how every time we try to come up and pull ourselves, quote unquote, from our bootstraps, there was something put into place, where there was like redlining or uh, Jim Crow. Like, there was something in history that pushed us back. And in that process, that's what started solidifying the mindset. See, the thing about your brain and the neurons and all these things, it's like quicksand that turns into concrete. So the more and more things happen, the more and more it proves to your mind that this is true, that this is fact. So truth is subjective and it can be changed. You can rewire your brain, because truth can be changed as you prove these things are wrong. As you start to shift your perspective, as you start to reframe your reality and realize that, hey, yeah, that happened. That was a circumstance that I went through. That was an experience that I had, but there is still possibility. There is still opportunity to shift that and change that reality and not accept that as my truth. There is still time to believe in something bigger and not the things that have been put upon me, conditioned upon me, programmed into me. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, being a foundational Black American and having that trauma has wired us in a certain way, but that does not mean you cannot be rewired. And on that note, I hear my son crying. I hope this is enough for you.